Afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Oops. Back. Hang on. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. That's the old one.
I see the record button.
You see it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Unleashed, Real Talk, Real Conversation. This is Shelley Rawlings, your host, and I'm excited about this episode because we're kicking off the month of November. And as we talked last month about breast cancer awareness, we're staying in the theme of cancer and how it relates to our community. And it's time to come full circle, taking off anything that is restricting us, because we really have to have some heart-to-heart conversation. And so for those of you who've been following us and watching us, you can watch us on YouTube, Unleashed Real Talk, Real Conversation, or you can check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and listen to the audio. So we invite you to join in on the conversation, because this is some pretty heavy duty stuff. This is stuff that really has been keeping me up at night, which is why I decided to launch this series. And I have two of my girlfriends with me today, and I'm excited by this because we go way, way back. We actually attended high school together, and even beyond that, or before high school. And so we've got years of friendship, and I trust them. I'm excited by what they have done in their personal careers and their professional careers. And they have some pretty powerful stories as it relates to our topic today. And so we're talking about lung cancer awareness. This is the month of November. November is annual, or with National Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And lung cancer awareness among African Americans is a thing. You know, we talked about breast cancer being a thing in October. Lung cancer in our community is really a thing. It's a big deal. And we are seeing our folks plagued by this issue, plagued by this disease. And it's hitting home. You know, it's hitting home. And I remember I was sharing with both of you, I'm gonna let you introduce yourselves in a minute, but I was sharing with both of you, and for the listeners as well, that my mother was the vice president of the American Cancer Society for 35 years in the District of Columbia. And so just growing up with her and watching her do some of her community work, as well as leading organizations around DC, it was just really enlightening for me at a young age to kind of understand what she was doing and why she was doing it. And so I became keenly aware at a young age that certain things weren't good for you, you know, like smoking cigarettes weren't good for you. And so now fast forward, looking back, I can understand some of the issues that she faced, even in our own household. So I want to talk about that, but I want to spend a minute and let you ladies introduce yourselves. First and foremost, I have Sonia Salmon-Gayle with us, who is a dear friend. She's very deeply involved in lung cancer awareness. And then, of course, my good girlfriend, Marla Smith, who is personally affected and also has been a part of the series with her expertise in rare diseases. But let's kick it off to you, Sonia. Please introduce yourself for the audience.
Hello, everyone in the virtual world. My name is Sonia Salmon-Gayle. I am, let's see, how can I introduce myself? I'm a licensed therapist. I am currently in a PhD program in health psychology. And actually, my dissertation will be on lung cancer stigma in African American women. So, woo, woo, woo.
There you go.
How does this topic affect me? In 2008, my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer after being a breast cancer survivor for 5 years. She lasted 3 months, 3 years and 8 months. She died in April of 2011. Well, of course, me being the person I am, couldn't just take it sitting down. So I had to do something, because lung cancer, we were so lost as a family. And I said, no, this can't go this way. So from there, a foundation was created in honor of my mom, called Cinderella Cares. We do an annual event called Cinderella Cares Comedy for a Cure, where we bring awareness to lung cancer, specifically in the African American community.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, and I remember your story when you first launched Cinderella Cares, and you know, to have a loved one, someone so close to you, experience two types of cancer. One is bad enough, but to experience two types of cancer and then ultimately succumb is something else. And so I get it. You know, I think I would have done exactly what you did. You know, you turn into an activist, right? You're like, what needs to happen, because I can't sit idly by anymore. So I appreciate, and I just so in awe of your dedication to the cause, because I'm watching you. I see everything that you're doing. I see you up on the Hill. I see you with organizations all around the tri-state area, pushing for legislation and pushing for the causes so that we're protected, we're educated. And I just thank you for that, because it's a big deal. You're not doing it for one person, you're doing it for a community, and that's a big
community. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me as well.
Absolutely. You are going to be invited back. How about that? We got a lot of stuff we got to unleash. We got a lot of stuff we got to unleash. So if you don't know, Sonia, the rule is not to be tiptoeing. You don't have to be perfect and you know, politically correct. This show, we got some stuff we got to talk about. So just say it. That is the purpose and the premise of the show. We've got to say it, because sometimes people only receive it when they hear it the way that we need to say it, and that's
absolutely.
So we're trying to change mindset. We're trying to change behaviors. We're trying to fix our community.
Absolutely.
So that we can
Attitudes.
Absolutely. So thank you. All right. So Marla Smith, my girlfriend as well, 40 years. I know you've been personally impacted as well. So introduce yourself to the audience as well.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Marla Smith, and I have a background in healthcare. The last 25 years doing clinical research, and most recently rare disease, some immunology and vaccines and things like that. Lung cancer, like Sonia, as you were speaking, like my heart, like I feel like I'm going to unleash tears. Lung cancer affected me late 80s. My father was a smoker, Viceroy, like hardcore cigarettes. He smoked Viceroy, and he was diagnosed at 50 years old with lung cancer, stage 4 metastatic lung cancer. So the lungs were his primary site, but it was also metastatic to his liver and to his lymph nodes, right? He was already stage 4 when he was diagnosed. He was diagnosed in October of 1989, and he passed away on Christmas Day, 1989. So it was it's
quick. It was quick.
It's crazy. And probably one of the craziest things when I think about it, and it speaks to the addiction, the nicotine addiction, he, even after being diagnosed, continued to smoke. And so, you know, there's the piece of denial, there's the piece of, I'm sure in his mind, like there's nothing to do. They did one round of chemo and decided that it took away from his quality of life more than it was going to be able to have any effect on the disease in his body. So that was it, just the one round of chemo. And then that was it, 50 years old. I'm 55, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And that's the biggest thing why so many African Americans are dying quickly from lung cancers, because the disease, more so than any other time, is detected in this latter stage.
Yeah.
Right? Because people aren't aware of the symptoms. They're not aware of, you know, I'm having this cough. They contributed to, oh, it's a cold, it's an allergy, blah, blah, blah. And then they, you know, they don't have the foresight to go and talk to their providers or whoever, you know, to say, hey, listen, I think I need something more than an X-ray.
Look, right.
You know,
it's really interesting. And Sonia, I'm gonna swing it to you, because I want you to help educate us because you've been down deep in it, you know, for the
Mhm.
last few years. But I remember growing up, my father smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. 2 packs a day. And I remember as a little kid watching my mom come in doing community work for the American Cancer Society, but there was tension in the household because my father's smoking, right? So as
Right.
a little girl, I remember trying to help my mom and help my dad by taking his cigarettes and hiding them, you know, so if he would be in the shower, I would move them, right? And instantly, when I tell you attitude, he turned into a different person, and I didn't understand that it was an addiction. You know,
Addiction.
I just thought, why is he being so mean? I'm just, you know, trying to help you out. Like, what's your problem? But I didn't understand it was an addiction.
Right.
And so years later, you know, my dad passed away, but it was from a heart issue. And so the doctor said there are ramifications. It's not always just lung. You're doing damage everywhere in your system, and it's going to show itself in other ways. So you may not just have lung cancer, you may have so my dad passed away from a heart attack, but he had been a smoker for years and years, right? And so it's kind of hard to put your head around it unless you really understand that there's a ripple effect. And I don't think people get that. I don't think people get that.
Right. So here's the part about the stigma. People think that, okay, well, you smoke cigarettes, so you're going to have lung cancer. That's not true.
Right.
Cigarette smoking is contributed to so many other diseases, so many other types of cancer. It has, I forgot what the number is, but it has over 100 different carcinomas, you know, because of the chemicals that they use to make the cigarette. So, you know, you don't have to be a smoker, or at least it's not just that you smoke that you get lung cancer, because people who have never smoked are getting lung cancer.
Right.
People who are former smokers, 30 years are getting lung cancer. My mother stopped smoking cigarettes 30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, you see, and she developed the disease. And so part of the problem and the issue is that the research has not caught up to the disease. It's better.
Right.
It's better.
Yeah.
But it's still a mystery, you know. And lung cancer is being detected as luck, you know, by chance. I go for one thing and then, oh, by the way, you have lung cancer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I've seen that. I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing is now to have the research, extensive research. I mean, when you and another thing that's happening is that young people who are in their 30s, 20s, younger than that, are being diagnosed with lung cancer. So what is that?
And what's so interesting to me is, if you all and we all kind of grew up together because we're around the same age, and you think about this whole push and initiative worldwide, really about smoking, right? So you have non-smoking restaurants, you have non-smoking airport or areas in the airports, you have a lot of public places now where you can't smoke. And so it's kind of interesting because when you go to places where you do see smokers, it's weird to me. It's like, oh,
it is weird.
You know, like it's such a weird, it's almost like when we didn't wear seat belts and now we have to wear seat belts. So when you get in a car and someone's not wearing a seat belt, you're like, how come you know, so it's a weird thing. And so to your point, Sonia, you know, when I was looking at the stats, I saw annually, well, number one, I read that lung cancer is the second cancer that causes death among African Americans, right? So it's the second leading cancer in our community, men and women. So there's no distinction from what I'm reading. And then the second thing was 25,000 people are identified as having lung cancer in our community annually as it relates to 2019. But so when I think about that, I'm like, that's really interesting because I don't see smokers like I used to see. You know, people vape. That's kind of the new thing.
That's a new thing.
Point about the younger community.
Yeah.
Like, okay, is that the problem? Like, what what is it? Because it wasn't sexy, let's say, after a point. First, everybody had to have a cigarette, right? To be social and all that. And then it kind of went away. But now it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of coming back, where people need to show this electric cigarette or vaping, or what is that?
You know what? It has to do with culture. It has to do with socialization. You know, it has to be with it. You know, wanting to be in the in crowd. It's a new thing.
Right.
You know, they're marketing to. It's a techno savvy type of device. Juul, which has been the rampant in young people in high school. There's an epidemic now, which there a lot of stores have banned Juul cigarette because it looks like a iPhone microphone, whatever. It's cute, it's sleek, it comes in different colors. The different flavors. They can just tuck it in your pocket.
Right.
I mean, it's you know, it's the thing that becomes a fad. It becomes this in thing.
It's like a sneaky way to get people hooked.
Yes. And see what the problem is. When you come to like cigarette smoking and all these vaping things, is that they're marketing to young people, impressionable minds, right? So young people become addicted. So guess what? You're addicted as a young person. You become you keep that addiction as an adult, right? And then it's compounded.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, the whole marketing thing, you know, the bottom line is the bottom line, the bottom dollar.
Bottom line is the dollar, yes.
So they went the whole thing to push away, you know, they put, cigarettes kill on the cartons and things like that. But people, once they're addicted, like you say, they're still getting them. You go out of the country, you can get them really cheap. You go, you know, here, there, you can do that. So they had to find another way because it's a good market. And so now marketing to children who will go and they dress it up. It tastes good or flavorful, I guess. And so they still are getting that bottom dollar. And one of the things I noticed, I was talking with someone about the Juul or those, I don't know if the electric cigarettes are the same thing, but with vaping, it's a constant, you know, with cigarettes, you smoke one, you have to put it out, you put it down. But with that, you can just constantly keep going. And I think that's why this epidemic with children now are starting to die from the vaping, because their lungs are just being clouded. You can't get fresh air in because they're clouded with all of the junk from
exactly.
And I don't know if you've ever seen an X-ray of a lung with somebody who's a smoker, you know, just a smoker. It's black.
Right, it's black.
Tar. It's like tar. It's tar.
It's unfortunate.
So Sonia, from the work that you do with Cinderella Cares, educate our listeners a little bit about what you're working on to make changes. What's the focus of Cinderella Cares?
Well, the focus is awareness, getting the information out, and we use comedy. You know, if I said I was having an event to just talk about lung cancer, guess who would be in the audience?
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
No one would be, because no one wants to talk about it. You talk about lung cancer, everybody's, you know, the first thing is that it's morbid, you know what I mean? It's Debbie Downer. Who wants to hear about that?
Right.
So we uniquely use, you know, because my brother, when we created Cinderella Cares, we combined our skills together. My brother is a comedian. My other brother is an artist. So we said, let's use the art to bring people to these events. So awareness is the most important thing. And from awareness is to get people to understand, to go and get screened if they are at risk for the disease. And being at risk, meaning that, you know, if you show the signs of hoarseness, coughing, fatigue, loss of weight, some of the signs that my mom, I remember, oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I remember my mom, 2008, we went to my nephew's game, and all of a sudden she had to walk, it was a long way, it was a football game, and then she just got tired. She just got so tired. And I was saying, Mommy, come on, walk faster. you know, because it was cold. And she says, no, I can't go any faster. And so that was a sign there.
That was a sign, yeah.
That was a sign there. Then the other sign that I remember is that she always had mucus, this thick mucus, and a dry type of heave and cough.
Okay.
And she would, you know, from time to time, she like, you know, almost like she, you know, get a flu-like symptoms.
Right.
And she would go to, she had x-rays over x-rays, and I can't even count the number of x-rays my mother had, but it did not detect the disease. And that's the other thing, is to let people know that x-ray does not detect the disease until it's in its latter stage.
Wait,
Only
stop right there. Stop right there.
Right.
What is that about? What is that about?
It doesn't. It does not.
Is it is it a 3D? You know, like when you get a mammogram, you can get 3D, and they suggest that African American women should have 3D mammogram, so they can really right. I mean, what is that?
It's called a low dose CT scan.
Yeah.
A low dose CT scan.
So here's a question, and I don't know if you know this. So my mind just starts going, right? Then I think about healthcare, and I think about, you know, the different things that happen when you see the doctor, right? So you go in, you have an x-ray, like, and this is making me think about myself. I was in an automobile accident earlier this year, and they wanted to do x-rays. I'm like, oh, it's muscular, the pain, whatever. So they said, oh, we think they saw a spot on my lung. Well, and I went somewhere else, and they checked it, and they said, okay, no, it was fine. But now I'm like, okay, was it really fine, or did I need to have a further test? Because, you know, you get, and then we were talking about insurance, and then the issues with being able to get further testing, because what you're saying is news to me.
Okay.
And that the x-ray, I know that it definitely can detect it later. I didn't even think about early, because I'm thinking they'll see like some kind of spot. But again, if your lungs are tar, when they take the x-ray, how are they going to see? Because then those things are shaded areas, right?
Right.
Now, obviously, I'm not an expert, so I would see shaded area where a physician would see
density
or something
right,
like that. Right.
So I'm going to tell you, Marla, go to Holy Cross Hospital. This is an organization that we are connected to. They do, you'll enter into a research. It's called the International ILCAP program. And you can get a free low-dose CT scan. They'll follow you for 2 years.
This is all like, tell me about the study. Because, you know, clinical research is my thing. So
it's called the International.
You're talking our language right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's called the International Lung Cancer LCAP, ILCAP. I'm not sure if what the acronym, but it's ILCAP. It's an international research program on lung cancer.
Are they studying a specific population of people?
Right. So there has to be some criterias, risk factors. But because you had someone to die from lung cancer, and probably you've been around people smoking cigarette. Have you ever smoked before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are eligible to take that test, and I can send you information.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's very interesting.
Because the issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know we're probably gonna have to wrap up, but this is juicy, and this is why I have these conversations, because I'm learning stuff, and if I feel like I'm learning something, I'm hoping that someone else will learn something too. But it sounds to me that you've got two things going on. You've got the group that smokes, whatever it is, right? Cigarettes, vaping, whatever, and then you have those that don't. That could have either been around people that smoke, or based on what I'm reading, have a gene that makes them more susceptible to lung cancer. Is that not right?
Yes, because there is a hypothesis that if you have a parent or someone who have been diagnosed by lung cancer, chances are you carry the same genes that would make you more predisposed to the disease.
Exactly.
So one of the things that my family did, we all got screened.
Okay.
We all got screened after my mom died. So again, it's so, there's so much information. You know what I mean? There is I want to share with the viewer an organization called Go To Foundation. It's two foundation that has merged together to really put the information out to help patients, the research part, and so go to foundation.org. Everyone can just go to the website, and there are tons of information on lung cancer and what they're doing, and the research that's out there, and the drugs that they're using for people in fourth stage lung cancer. People are surviving. They're surviving.
Wow.
You know, but that information is not available to our demographic, our population, right?
And so you have the other part to me, which is, in general, stay with me if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but in general, our Black men don't want to go to the doctor unless something is broken and half their arm is falling off, right?
And that's the problem.
And then, then you've got the women in general who get all their wellness stuff done, but now they're trying to get their partners, their husbands, their cousins, their whomever to go. So we can't get them there. Like, we can't get them to the screening. We can't get them to the doctor.
Yeah.
What do we do? Because then when stage 4 is announced, then it's like all heck is breaking loose.
Awareness. Keep the information going. This is what you're doing, keeping that information going. But also there are different things that are coming out. So for those who do go and get an annual physical, research now has identified that there is a blood test that you can take.
Okay.
That would say whether or not you're more disposed to having lung cancer. So the research is really becoming innovative, because we have to have more than one ways to detect the disease, and to save lives. Any disease must be detected in its first stage, early stage of detection.
Yep,
absolutely. So if we can begin to tie that with, and if you notice, I don't know if you noticed that healthcare providers now, they're asking a lot of questions about smoking. If you go on your physical, there's a lot of questions.
Full circle again to me.
Yeah.
It feels like we're just back where we were, but with more information. It feels
more,
like.
Yeah. And the thing is now, what I'm curious now, you're asking me all these questions at my health exam. What are you going to do about it?
What are you doing with it? Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm at a high risk of getting the disease, what are the preventative measures that you're doing? And so there's this thing about stigma that's not only within the different communities, but with providers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
I know.
Never thought. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Well,
because they're thinking that, just real quick, that, you chose to get lung cancer. That's the stigma. Your lifestyle.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I get that.
Ugh.
I get that. And that's a terrible thing.
And then the other thing is that radon is something that can cause lung cancer. And I don't know if anybody know that Maryland is one of the highest states in radon. So people there are radon detectors, right? That you can test your house to see the level of radon in it.
Whew. Just like we started down this breast cancer awareness conversation, we had to have a part 2, because my head was about to explode. I was learning so much stuff, but I was getting fired up too, right? Because this is stuff that we have to start telling people that we care about. We have got to tell people that even though you don't feel sick, even though you're not having problems breathing or getting tired or whatever those symptoms are, you need to be screened. Like, you need to be in the driver's seat.
Yes.
Your health. I mean, Oh, it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating.
So breast cancer, we're seeing that there are more survivors of breast cancer, right? Why? Because of research.
The research.
Because of awareness. Because
A lot of money gone into it.
everybody.
Everything
right?
is pink in October.
Everything is pink.
Yeah.
And then also, you now have it tied in with annual physical, get your mammogram, right?
Right.
Colon cancer, there's a higher risk of survival of colon cancer. Why? Because you're getting colon screen. You get your annual, that's right. That lung cancer needs to be right there.
Right.
Right there.
That's a good point you just made. I didn't even think of it that way.
It's a
It
great
should be
point.
folded in like anything else that we're getting
Right there.
that's preventative in our wellness checks.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Whew.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. All right, ladies. Well, thank you.
This was good.
We are going to post these to start the conversation. And again, we're starting the conversation. We got so many layers to get under because I want to make a difference. I want someone to hear this that gives them pause. I want someone to say, you know what? Let me do this or let me check that.
Do something different.
Yes. And so I'm excited by this. And I just invite you both to have your groups to subscribe to it because I want to have you back, Sonia. I think you have a wealth of information that our listeners can benefit from. And please, before we wrap up, let everyone know when Cinderella Cares does their
Yay! April 25th, 2020 at downtown Silver Spring Civic Center. We just got our grant.
Oh, excellent. Congratulations.
They have really been kind to us.
And what's your website if people want to find you?
www.cinderellacares.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter.
Love it. Love it. Keep up the great work. We appreciate
you
carrying the torch. And we've got to keep listening and keep being open so that people like you who are fighting the big fight can get the information to us so we can make a difference in our communities.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Marla, as always, thank you for joining. Thank you for your transparency and telling your stories. And we're gonna keep going. We're gonna be unleashed and we're just gonna say it because we
don't have a choice. Do we have a choice?
We don't have a choice. Look, the time has come to be unleashed, right?
Yes.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you.
Enjoy and keep fighting a good fight. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.